Hi, I'm Jenny. This is my channel, Designs with Paper. Thanks so much for stopping by. The video I have for you today is not a card video, but an art journal page. 4 or 5 years ago, I stumbled upon the YouTube channel of Mike Deakin. And Mike is the creator of the Mission Inspiration Facebook group. Now, he is a very talented mixed media artist, and I really enjoy watching his processes. The purpose or the design of the Mission Inspiration Group is that every month Mike or one of his collaborators will give a list of supplies or ingredients or prompts to use in an art journal page, and then you are invited to follow along and create your own page based on your interpretation of the theme and the colors and the supplies. I have off and on participated in these pages, but mixed media is not my strongest craft lane, and I really enjoy it and I want to be better at it. I do have a hard time getting my fingers dirty and inky, so it is a nice kind of play in the mud kind of therapy for me, I think. I really enjoy it. I'm not the greatest at it. I hope to get better. But this video is my February Mission Inspiration art journal page. I will put an iCard in the video so that you can check out that Facebook group and Mike's channel. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and thanks so much for stopping by. This is the cover photo for the Facebook group for Mission Inspiration, and I will stick an iCard here so that you guys can go and check it out. I have really found it to be inspirational. I created my own art journal for the prompts this year, and the cover of this is my front cover, and it says the earth without art is just eh. And it is 6 inches wide and 9 inches tall, so the pages are slightly smaller. This is the recipe card for the January prompt. It has 3 colors, a blue, a red, and a yellow, or a blue and an orange and a yellow, and a list of ingredients on the left-hand side. The ingredients were stenciling, torn book text, paint, die cutter punch, and doodles. I did shoot footage, but it was corrupted and didn't look good, so I never made a video with it. I went with the theme, sometimes we need fantasy to survive reality, and I felt like that was pretty fitting for this past year or so. So on to February. This is the recipe card for February 2021's Mission Inspiration Art Journal project. And there are a list of colors on the right and a list of ingredients down the left. And as always, this year, the theme is in the middle. So let's get on to my video. So February's Mission Inspiration prompt has a list of colors on the right. They are royal blue, salmon pink, and steel gray. And I have pulled out a dilution spray and some distressed paint to use as my colors. And on the left, it has the ingredients: ink, tissue paper, and I didn't have tissue paper, but I had this napkin, so I decided to use that. And I only used the gray sections. I didn't use the black or the red sections. The next list ingredient is circles, so I'm going to use this circle stencil, and numbers. So I will also use this numbers stencil. And then it says to make marks. And I have this catalyst tool. I think it's a Martha Stewart or something. I've had it forever. So to start with, I'm going to take a piece of paper from my art journal, and I'm going to use this, I think it's a pumice stone, distress paint, and a little piece of an art sponge to put gray all over this page. I'm doing that because I'm not going to completely cover the page with the tissue paper, and so I don't want the white to show through. The paper on the right hand side there is a disposable palette. It's just a piece of palette paper that I can use up and then throw away when I'm done with it, so I don't have to clean. I don't use it very often, but it does help keep that distress paint wet just a little bit longer. I find that distress paint dries really quickly for an acrylic paint. So here I've just got this whole background covered. I do have this video sped up about 1.5 times, and I did cut out a lot of the fussy stuff, a lot of the cleanup, and a lot of the drying time so that you don't have to watch me dry because that's not fun. So now I've taken my Mod Podge, and this is a matte Mod Podge, and I'm going to add those pieces of tissue paper or napkin onto this piece of paper. And I'm going to cover the holes for the jump rings because it doesn't matter. I can poke them back out later. And I don't want to line this up like checkerboard style. I don't even care if it's really smooth. I'm okay with wrinkles. And I don't want to have a pattern. I'm really bad subconsciously about creating patterns and symmetry. And I'm just trying to make this look very organic and as not planned as possible. I didn't plan the layout of this, but I did plan the ingredients, if that makes sense. So I'm just taking this Mod Podge and I'm brushing it on and adding these pieces of tissue paper. And you will thank me later. I didn't make you watch me put in every single piece of tissue paper. I just left in a little bit so that you could see what I was doing. And here I'm trying to figure out how I can put this on and not have it look like a checkerboard or a pattern, or I'm just trying to be not perfect. I don't know what the right phrase is here. Trying to be not strict, maybe is a better phrase, in the layout of the tissue paper or the napkin. Yeah, I'm not sure what I was pointing at there. So there, it's all on the paper, and it is a little bit brighter than I wanted it to be because my focal piece, I would blend a little bit. So I'm going to take this white gesso and water it down just a little bit and cover the whole thing. And with gesso, especially this white gesso, once it's dried back, it's a little bit more translucent than it is when it's wet. So you will be able to see the tissue paper and the pattern, but you won't really be able to, it won't jump out in your face. It won't be right there. So here it's dry and we're ready to add the ink. I'm using this Dylusions blue ink, and my intent is to create some drips or just a layer of blue. So I put a little bit of blue along the top of the paper, and I'm going to grab, first I thought I'd grab a paintbrush, but then I decided, no, I'm just going to grab a spray bottle, and I've got this little spray bottle on my desk here, and I'm going to spray it and then add some more ink to it so that it can just run down the front. And that was working just fine. I'm wholeheartedly not a patient person, so I screwed the lid back on and sprayed the top because the drips were just not moving fast enough for me. And probably if I had just added more water, it would have been fine. And anyway, so I'm just kind of tapping the paper around to get that ink dripping down the front of the paper. And the good thing about Mod Podge and the gesso is it makes this water kind of slick and non-porous so that the water and the ink just kind of run down the paper wherever, the ink follows the water and the water goes wherever you tell it to. So here I've got it dried, and I've got the blue color and I've got the gray color, but I don't have any of the salmon pink on it yet. And so the next ingredient on the list, and you don't have to use these in order, this is just kind of the way my brain was layering this page together, but I thought I would put the circles on using this circle stencil. So I'm going to pull out that pink, and I don't know what, it's a distress ink. I think it's like worn lipstick or something. It's not really salmony, but it was close enough. I'm grateful that when Mike creates these art prompts, he's not super picky on exactness, because how fun would that be, right? So I'm just going to take this stencil and smush a little bit of this pink distress ink or distress paint through the stencil onto this background so that I have a layer of circles. I'm trying to not use the whole set of circles. I don't want it to look, again, I don't want it to look formed or I just want it to look very random. There's the word, random. I'm trying to avoid symmetry. I'm trying to avoid exactness. I just want it to be random. And it's something I struggle with. And I appreciate that is not everybody's struggle. And I really like that art journaling gives me the opportunity to kind of fight that and go for something a little bit more random, a little less structured or in line with the quote rules. So now I've got my circles on there, my stencil's cleaned up, everything's moved out of the way, and I'm going to add the numbers. And I did pull in another gray. This is the archival ink. I think it's like watering can gray. And instead of that rough art sponge, I'm using a makeup sponge. I find that the rougher sponges, for me, I just don't get that texture that I want with an ink pad, the same way that you would do for acrylic inks. And again, I don't want this to be a whole number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want to have a group of numbers here and a group of numbers here, and I don't want them to necessarily be all, if I have part of a 7 and part of a 2 and half of a 9, I'm okay with that. I'm trying to use different parts of the stencil so that I get different numbers. And I'm kind of in my random flow here for a minute. I kind of felt like I was in a groove, just a little bit here, a little bit there. Also trying to apply the rule of triangle or threes, making my eyes pull toward that center, because the middle of the paper is where my focal image is going to eventually end up. And you kind of want everything to pull around the edge, or to pull from the edge to the middle, wherever your focal point is. At least in my brain, that's what I want. Okay, so as I continue to make numbers, I'm like, okay, I left the middle kind of blank. No big deal. That's where I'm going to put the focal image. And as I'm looking at it, I decided it needed some kind of a border or a frame. So I'm going to take that makeup sponge and the archival ink and go ahead and darken that edge. And I really like that because it gives the final product an end. Your eyes don't go off the page. It pulls everything into the focal image and the quote that I've chosen. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Anyway, I'm just continuing to ink up those edges with a makeup sponge. Nothing really fancy or predictable, just a nice light gray edge to kind of pull everything in to make it one unit. It's kind of like when you make cards and you leave a frame around it. It just kind of makes everything a unit. Okay, so we have our border on there, and we can kind of clean that up and move things out of the way. I have this fan brush, and I want to add some splatters. And I know that's not an ingredient, and I don't think, and white is not one of the colors in the recipe, but white is a neutral, so you can use that always, right? So I am using a little bit of white gesso, and then I'm going to add a little bit of blue splatters with this Dilutions spray that I used to make the blue down the middle. And you can see that dried back quite a bit. And then I decided that, well, this could be my marking, right? The splatters are the marking, but it wasn't quite dramatic enough. So I pulled out the black soot distress paint, and I'm going to add a few splatters with that fan brush, and I'm going to water it down and add some splatters of black as well. And we're just going to call all the splatters mark making. I think for a minute I forgot that I had planned in my head to use that catalyst tool for the mark making, but whatever. So now we have some black splats, and I kind of like that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, catalyst tool. So this tool has kind of teeth in different sizes on all 4 sides. And I just picked the finest set of teeth, and I'm going to make some drag marks. And here is where my need for symmetry and I don't know, I just lost my mind for a minute. I added too many of these black marks, and then I thought I had to overcompensate, and I had this great idea to use the lid to that spray to make some circles, which is perfect because circles are one of our ingredients, right? So it doesn't really matter what order we add the ingredients. We just need to get them in there to the best of our ability with whatever supplies we have. And I did like how those circles kind of evened out the black scratch marks from the catalyst tool. All right, after I've cleaned up this lid, I am going to go ahead and get ready for my focal image. I've gone down my recipe card and I have all of my colors. I have all of my ingredients. All that is left is my main theme, my silhouette. So I found online a picture of a silhouetted girl with her hands out, or a woman, and I printed it on sticker paper and then trimmed around it. I print with a laser printer, and this toner cartridge seems to leave solid images like that kind of grainy. So I put some plastic sticker paper, some clear sticker paper, over the top of the other sticker paper so that it wouldn't come off in my hands. The next thing I have done is punch these purple hearts out, and I'm going to glue them on here with just this school glue, this glue stick. I punched them out in blue. The girl is printed in a dark blue, but after I got because the toner printer tends to print things darker, she didn't really come out quite as light. I was kind of going for another one of those blue colors. I want to add shadow. And I have these two Pitt Artist brush pens, and I have a blue and a gray, and I think there's a black on my desk somewhere too. And this is India ink. So if you are quick when you put it on, you can smear it. And in person, I didn't like the shadow the blue was creating. It just seemed like it was not dramatic enough. So I moved on to the gray, and then I changed my mind and went to the black. In hindsight, I would not have done this. And you'll actually see in the photos at the end of the video that after I stopped filming, I went back and put a white highlight around the image of the girl and the hearts. I just didn't really care for how that shadowing turned out, especially with the hearts. You kind of lost the shape of them because the nib on that brush is so big. You live and you learn, and I think that's one of the things about art journaling is it allows me to practice and to use materials that I don't typically use together, inks and paints and water and markers, to try and figure out how I like them to work. So the quote I have for February's art journal page is, "Do everything with a good heart and expect nothing in return, and you will never be disappointed." And it's by Barbara Lowe. And that's kind of where I got the image. My inspiration for this page was totally the quote first. I saw it on my quote board on Pinterest, and I thought, oh, that's an awesome quote. I want that to be my next art journal page. Whatever I do that's mixed media or art journal, I want to do something with this quote. So once I had the quote, finding the image of the person with their hands out giving love, putting hearts out into the world was kind of perfect. The quote is also printed on sticker paper, which makes it really easy to go down. And then I just cut it so that it would fit kind of around my focal image of this girl. And I really like, in general, how that turned out. There are a few things I would do differently. I would not use the catalyst tool to make the scratching marks. I feel like because of the darkness of the silhouette, which is the theme of the inspiration this month, and the shadowing I put around it, it just kind of, the black scratches are just a little bit too much, I think. But at the end, once I got her highlighted with a white gel pen, I did like that a little bit more. So to make that quote or the phrase kind of stand out, I went around it with this gray Pitt pen. And, I just keep dipping my finger into a little bit of water on my craft mat there. The water helps kind of blend that India ink out before it dries. Once it dries, it is permanent. But on this non-porous surface that we've created with the gesso and the Mod Podge, you have a couple of seconds to really smear that around and add some shadowing or dimension. So now I'm just going back through my recipe card to make sure I have all of my ingredients so that I can call this project complete. I will glue the recipe card to the back of my project. I will repunch those holes and add it to my 2021 art journal. So thanks for stopping by. I really hope you like it, and let me know if you want to see more of this mixed media style art. Have a good day.